Hey Nathan, welcome back.
Yeah, well, I've always found your stuff to be very interesting, but
Okay.
Gary, but I travel so much, it's very hard to plan anything around this time of day or night. Well, it's been the Miami Art Week, and it's actually very interesting this year because Art Basel, which is the center. So Art Basel originally is in Basel, Zurich, but it's not quite a franchise, but they're doing it in Miami and they're planning to do it in Hong Kong, Dubai.
Okay.
It's growing. It's in Paris, and it's the signature contemporary art fair each year,
Okay.
and so you find out what's going on now. For the first time this year, they had a serious digital area called Zero 10, extremely well curated and featuring you would remember probably the $69 million
Beeple.
NFT which started the craze was by this guy Mike Winklestone, called
Beeple.
otherwise known as Beeple. Well,
Yeah.
if you go online and have a look at the hits from Art Basel this year, and you'll see that his installation, which was a series of those little Boston robotic dogs, with a series of very well known people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and other, Trump, I think whoever on them, very realistic heads. They were sort of roaming around a ring and bumping into each other and trying to avoid each other like a Dodgem cars.
Okay.
$100,000 each, all sold within the first day, and then they were giving out dog poop. The NFTs coming out of the bums. I mean, it was a very clever installation. And anyway, some people we're working with are friends with Beeple's brother, who's actually the brains behind the business, and it's a business now. So that's a very successful example of someone who started with this one-off amazing sale and now has a very successful career. He's not the only one. There are all kinds of things happening in this space, and uh, it really yes, there it is. That's it. You got it.
Yep.
It generated an enormous amount of interest. I mean, it's still going. I had enough today. I've got other things I've got to do. I'm far more important than my granddaughter's dancing in a couple of hours, so I have to go and do that. But the number of people in that area, but not just there, in that whole section of art, Basel, was very dynamic and very broad ranging.
Okay.
Um, there's an artist called, you can look his artwork up, called a digital artist called Jack Butcher, an English bloke, who had a very long stand, and it had a plain readout which said minus $75,000 at the beginning, and gradually went down to zero, and then I think it's up to five or $10,000 positive today, which represented his cost of the booth, $75,000, and he wished to pay for it by creating NFTs, which were in fact receipts. So he had a brilliant setup. So you came in with your credit card, and in units of $1, you put whatever amount you wished, and each dollar represented one line in a receipt, just like a supermarket receipt,
Okay.
and you signed it, which is you're also signing your credit card agreement to buy. You get your
Okay.
printout, which is an NFT. He had a continuous roll of paper, which is now miles long from the whole thing, and then the digital online version. So you're creating NFTs, and they simply represent receipts for your donation to his artwork. And I guess when it's over this afternoon, that's the end of it. And it was again hard. So many people there, and at one point I took over the stand for him because he was busy, and the number of people just coming up who had no idea what the fuck it was about, but were prepared to put their credit cards there, which obviously gives all their information as well,
Okay.
very happily to participate in this project.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
So
picked up on it here. It's got his self checkout project.
yeah, it was. it was very clever, but it was very sort of minimalist. But it also obviously was telling a story, you know.
Okay.
And the guy's a serious digital artist, and when I was telling people, I said, look, if you pay $1 now, when this is over, you've got an NFT, and you were there. It's a little bit worth more than $1. And in fact, the Beeple one was absolutely nuts. So he was printing out these little NFTs, but he was making some proper digital ones, and a few hundred, and he was giving them out as well. The brother was, and I haven't got mine yet. They said I was going to get one, but I don't care. On the
Okay.
second day, he'd given a few out, and someone sold one for $30,000.
Wow.
One of the dog poop NFTs. Yeah, I mean, it just okay. There was a bit of bubble type hype there, but there's also a maturation, and that's the part that interested me, because that's
Hmm.
what we're doing. Involved. There's some serious real world assets. We're working quite closely with an outfit called Asprey Studio. So this is an offshoot of Asprey, the luxury silver brand.
Hmm.
And they've been working for several years now, 3 or 4 years. A very smart young guy called Alistair Walker who heads it up, and they do projects. They started with a Bugatti project, sold out. They did a Edvard Munch, The Scream, sold out. They've got the Avengers of Disney, 60 pieces. I think they're almost sold out. A beautiful, beautiful silver work, like master sculptors, master silversmiths that they employ. But it's all, everything gets inscribed as an ordinal as well. So they're using the ordinal technology as we are, not for trading purposes, but just for inscription purposes.
Okay.
And we're cooking up some joint projects. So watch this space next year. We'll probably be at Art Basel in our own right, because we'll be ready. But I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing, and I also saw a lot of other things that indicated that there's a move away from a move towards what I think that I'm trying to encourage, which is transparency and authentication, not the crypto part.
Hmm.
I'm completely agnostic about that, but I'm very, very keen on the blockchain part.
Okay.
And I think more and more people are understanding the distinction, that you cannot have Bitcoin without blockchain, but you can have blockchain without Bitcoin.
Yeah,
So
I've been through this many times of
I know
trying to
you
educate
have.
people. Yep. Yeah,
You're very soft. I don't know why this is. Maybe my volume of you is not up there. Why is that?
I can always shout louder.
No, I got you. No, it was
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been through this many times of getting people to go on the journey of realizing that crypto's kind of an application layer in a way on top of
Yes,
technology that underpins it, and it's actually the blockchain layer that I've always found interesting, and distributed ledger technology, which I think's got the real potential, and the whole thing of like traceability, provenance, supply chain,
exactly. That's
all
it.
this kind of stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
we're pushing that very hard, and actually, it was very interesting. The other day, someone, however these algorithms know what you're looking at and what you're interested in. Someone sent me supposedly Warren Buffett, a video. It's actually a compilation. There's a group that's created like a fan club or something. I think you pay to join it, but they're putting together um, an AI generated voice, which definitely sounds like him, using his various quotes and piecing it together as a narrative.
Okay.
And he's basically talking about, buying Bitcoin as being speculation as opposed to investment. But he makes a distinction and says, but yes, but the blockchain technology seems interesting,
Mm.
So he's hedging his bets that the Bitcoin might go to zero. Well, I don't think it will, but that it could, and all the things we all know already, that it's lack of absolute inherent value,
Hmm.
but I think that probably the the Rubicon has been crossed. Maybe the $100,000 is not necessarily realistic, but I don't think it's going away.
But I think again, what you're saying about Musk saying about Bitcoin may be one thing, but it's the blockchain that's interesting. That's
Warren Buffett, not Musk.
Warren Buffett. Sorry, yeah. That's very similar to what actually Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan said. a number of
Yes.
years ago. Whereas I seem to remember initially he was quoted as saying like, Bitcoin and crypto, nothing in it whatsoever, all complete fake, no future, we'll never deal with it, blah, blah, blah. Admittedly, I think one of the trading desks in one of the countries was already doing some speculation and exploration, which is what you'd expect. But he then acknowledged and said, okay, I don't think there's any future in Bitcoin, but I do think that blockchain's interesting. So it sounds very similar to Warren Buffett then. Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, I think you and I broadly agree on that, and you're being very patient with a lot of people who don't seem to know what they're talking about, especially in some of these Cambridge groups. But I've had a bit of fun with I've had some very, very interesting discussions on the biosciences part, potentially helping my wife's brain injury situation. So I've learnt quite a bit, and I speak to Jeremy Sosabowski from time to time, and he obviously spends an inordinate amount of his time on these forums that he creates. And so there's a lot of very smart people. There's also some time wasting, of course. So I come and go, and I look at everything, but I don't read it all because there's far too many messages, and a lot of it's rubbish. But I'm learning along the way, but I'm all it's doing so far is reinforcing where I started from, or where my little company started from, which is that we believe in real world assets, meaning real world objects. I'd rather say real world collectibles as opposed to what other people are talking about as RWAs. And we're getting a lot of interest now from some serious collectors as well. So I think we'll probably in 2026. If you're around in London in late March, early April, my cello is going to be the first official cab off the rank, because I'm tokenizing it, fractionalizing it, and then lending it to the winner of a new competition. There's a very important new competition starting up in London called the Classic Cello Competition. Very, very well funded by some people from I think he's from Azerbaijan or somewhere, the original founder, but I don't know where they got their money from, and I'm not asking. But they're supporting quite a number of cultural initiatives in the Middle East and that Black Sea area, and now they're going global. And the amount of money they're putting into this competition will ensure that it's extremely well. Like the people who will enter the competition will be the best young cellists in the world, without a doubt. And they've got a very heavy-duty jury on board, so it's absolutely kosher, and it's at the Royal College of Music with the London Philharmonic, and so it's got all the right hallmarks for success.
Okay.
And they're thrilled to have my cello as part of not a gift, as a loan, as part of the first prize. So that is my way of killing several birds with one stone. So anyone who buys a token, and that'll include me, I'll keep as many tokens as I need in the cello, we'll be able to, there'll be a smart contract which basically says what happens, where there's a charitable trust that I'm working with that's already going to look after the cello, so it's kosher. It's headed by one of the world's leading experts on instruments, Florian Leonhardt, so he's very excited about the project, not getting any money out of it, and that the cello will be loaned first here and maybe further out. The cello will still be for sale. If someone comes along and offers sufficiently high profit, we will mandate that the original token holders sell their tokens back. So we can put all that in the smart contract. That's the beauty of smart contract. You can write anything you like, and we'll be writing a very transparent, but a very, what we think is a smart contract, meaning that, you unlike a company called Masterworks, where you can buy a fraction of a Picasso, but you can't, they decide everything, and it's all investment based and a little bit opaque. Here it's completely transparent. This is what the cello costs. You can do whatever you like with your token, but you can't eat the cello. Its future's being determined, and we're telling you what it is along the way. But the idea is that the more the cello gets played by hotshot young cellists, the greater your token's value will be, simply by the fact that instead of being played by an old bugger like me who's had it for 40 years, it'll be someone young and hot, hopefully.
Excellent.
So that's happening. Yeah.
Well, I'll look forward to that. If you say, if you're in London, March, April, we can definitely arrange to bump into each other at some point if your diary allows it.
I'm definitely coming from. I'll actually be in Miami, but I'll definitely be coming for the final. I want to see who the winners are, and of course, well, I'll be talking to them. I'll be back in London at the end of January, beginning of February. I'll be trying to. What I want to try and do is have a bit of an exhibition, so that my cello's seen during the competition, and let as many people know what's going on, because potentially investors will turn up. They'll be there, or sponsors of young cellists who are in there. There'll be people with who've got the means to join the party. The real question is whether they'll have trouble understanding what I want to do.
So have you got a website up or anything that explains it all yet?
Soon. Yeah, well, it's not ready. It's we've been revising it. Octars, and yeah, I'll let you know when it is, and then you can. And I'd appreciate actually you going through. What you'll see on the website will be a half a dozen projects, which are the first ones we intend to roll out over the next 18 months, and they're very disparate. I mean, deliberately chosen. So you've got the cello, you've got my 100-year-old wine, you've got a 350-year-old tree. You've got a contemporary artwork, which is a 50 square meter artwork. You've got a Georges Braque painting and its digital offspring. And you've got a silver Asprey rhinoceros from Albrecht Dürer's. So every one of these things features something eminently collectible at its core, but it's got digital offspring as well.
And quite different markets, I guess, as well, different kind of sectors for those.
Yes, so we're not even
different collectors.
Yeah, we got a friend who's a market expert, and she said, I want to help you with your brand positioning. I said, good luck with that. And so she's come up with something, and I said, we're not really trying to position ourselves anywhere, because we're creating a bit of a space that nobody yet inhabits. There'll be people. There are people who are doing bits of what we're doing. There's just nobody doing it all together yet. I think it'll come. You can buy fractions. There are people, for example, now who already club together or buy valuable instruments and then loan them or gift them for tax purposes. In Australia, it's quite big, actually, and that's fine. And this is not that dissimilar. The difference here is that we're plotting a long-term future, and the people who buy fractions can still trade them as they wish. We're just encouraging people not to rush into trading, but to hang around for a bit, because a collectible,
I guess you're crossing two markets, really, aren't you? It's the traditional collectible market, which exists already, and the fractional element of that, and then the crypto newbies who are looking for new and interesting stuff to engage in.
Yeah, so the interesting thing that's happened is we were at one point our first project was going to be this Georges Braque painting and its 144 digital offspring, which we created as images, and which are very cool. And we were going to use Ordinals Bot, who are the people who we worked with to create the actual inscriptions. They launched a new platform called Trio for trading. Now, between you and me and anyone else who's interested, the people who are interested in buying and selling on Trio are not the people we actually need, because they are essentially interested in little JPEGs with a funny story for $100 or $50, and then trading them quickly when someone successfully mints out, whatever that technology means. They mint out 400 of these things, and now everybody wants to buy them for double the next minute. Well, that's absolutely not what we want to do, because that doesn't meet my definition of a collectible. The fact that something trades for double in 5 minutes, but then goes to zero a year later, that's not a collectible. And
it's a pure play. It's a pure play speculative thing, isn't it?
It's not different, that much different from Bitcoin itself, except that I understand, the value of Bitcoin more than I understand the value of most of these NFTs or Trump coins or whatever the fuck that people are doing. They to me have nothing for them unless there's a really strong underlying piece of technology or very good story behind it. And there are some, like Ordinals Bot. They've been very generous in some ways. They've been promoting the inscriptions of WikiLeaks. Now, I don't think people are investing in that to make money. They're doing that for a reason. They want the thing to be, immutably registered. And I think that's very noble. Whether it's, works or not, I don't know. But what we want are real collectors. So, in fact, we've decided, I mean, it probably won't be on Trio itself because I think they've recognised its limitations. But we're trying to make at least one of our collectibles broadly enough available, meaning cheaply enough available, and it's going to be the tree. This 350-year-old tree. It's a long story, but you'll read about it when I give you the link later. We're probably going to make 1,000 tokens at $50 each, so that means anybody can have one. And the way we're setting it up, the people who buy those tokens will see revenue from the downstream products from the tree, pieces of the timber, like paper that we've already made. So we've got a whole, a little bit like a dividend share, but we're not promoting it as an investment. We're promoting it as a collectible, but it'll have certain characteristics that are not dissimilar to a dividend share. But
and it's all coming from the one tree.
The one tree, yes. You're buying a fraction of the tree, 1,000th of the tree, but you don't get. It's a fungible token. That one, it's not non-fungible. Yours is the same as anybody else's. You don't get to decide what happens. We do, but we're transparent. We tell you, and we tokenize every downstream child or grandchild. So we've already made magnificent handmade paper. We found this quirky little guy in Bordeaux with the funny name of Ruscombe Paper Mills, which was an English 19th century paper mill. He took it over from the English eccentric who took it to France and then decided to quit. And he's making this amazing paper for us in conjunction with our timber and his ancient textiles that he's got a collection of. So blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is we're creating new collectibles from the old tree, but using the tree's inherent value, which you can't buy these trees, by the way. Only people in the timber profession can, and it's because of my wine connections that we've been able to partner with Jean-Luc Sylvain, who's one of the biggest barrel makers in Bordeaux. So he makes 30,000 barrels a year, but he's a nutter for these trees. So he's been successfully buying. It's like one or two a year. The French government mandates the cutting down of the very, very ancient ones. They're normally protected, but they're dying. It's a great story. I know it's a long story, but that's an example of something that I think will cross over into this younger, digitally native, crypto-friendly. And we'll happily take crypto. I don't care. You can pay us with anything you like. Give me gold or silver.
It sounds interesting as well. I see it quite a lot in the UK, where if you go to like craft fairs or trade fairs or whatever, there's quite often remnants of HMS Victory, so quite a famous ship. Yeah, and you'll often go to these craft fairs type thing, and they'll have little things, whether they're trinkets or jewelry or book rack type things, all allegedly made from the original oaks from HMS Victory.
Wow.
And there's a point at which you go, well, that sounds really, really good. But did they rebuild Victory a few times? Because I've seen an awful lot of these trinkets now. And that's where, again, doing what you're doing, the traceability in there, actually ensures you've got this provenance.
That's exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. So obviously we can't determine, like with my Georges Braque painting. So he's a famous artist. So the painting was executed in the late 50s, early 60s. It's been authenticated by the one person who's allowed to authenticate Braque, and that's been validated by Christie's. So I've got that, and I've got Christie's provenance history of the previous sales, and I know when it was first sold in 1975. So I've got that. And if you believe me, you'll believe that part of it. But what happens now, of course, is anything future is inscribed and therefore immutable, or at least transparently visible. Now, with the tree, it's much easier because this tree was cut down in August 2024 by the ONF, the Office National de Forêt. They provide the certificate saying that this tree comes from, they show you exactly where it was, in which parcel, in which forest. They explain everything, and they do that online, but we have the certificate, obviously the paper certificate, but that's now digitized. It'll be inscribed, and that creates the provenance. The new chain starts now.
Okay.
And we've got photographs, we've got videos. Not unfortunately, we weren't able to video this tree being cut. Sometimes you can. If I know in advance, this one we were keen to get started, and so the first tree we could access was this one that was cut down last year. So at the beginning of this year, the tonnellerie, the cooperage, did what they call the transformation, which means they cut it into 1 meter long logs and then extract the best bits to make the barrels. Right?
Okay.
So what Jean-Luc Sylvain does, he makes his money from the 25 to 30% of the tree that is suitable for making staves. Right? And until now, believe it or not, the rest of the tree, the vast majority, was sold as firewood.
Okay.
So for the greenies, we're saving that.
Mm-hmm.
We're now saying it'll be anything but firewood. ABF we're creating, so
The ABF token. There we go.
Furniture, anything you like.
Yep.
We'll be very, very open-minded, except that it wants to be quality. And of course, everything that gets made from these pieces of timber that we've got now, drying at my property in France. So the smaller, the thinner pieces are already dry, and the other ones will be another 6 months or a year, whatever. And then we're making them. We've got a list of sculptors and artists who want to work with us already, and we will curate it. So, and that whole process will be visible, filmed, recorded, inscribed, but a share of the revenue will go back to the people who bought the tokens.
Okay.
Because I'll get the sale of the tree tokens is all I need. I've then paid for my tree, so I'm now in profit. Our business. So in the first cup, since this is something, we didn't go to, I bootstrapped this whole operation myself. I felt I'd be much more comfortable not asking anybody for any money. I've now got some people who actually want to invest. Well, I'll look at that separately, but I didn't need it. So we've got a business model which is a little bit different from most startups. We're not going to fail for lack of money because I've already owned the things that are in it. Like the tree.
Well, this is where it puts you a league or two ahead, doesn't it? It's like when you do take a look at startups who may have a great idea and something innovative and that, but they just can't get the funding. If you don't need the funding, then brilliant.
Yes, you've got it. You've got to have it. Yeah. Well, I've done this. I've advised a lot of people, as you have over the years, and the thing I say to everybody is, 80% or more of small businesses fail in the first 3 years for two reasons. The first one is lack of funding, and the second one, often related to it, is poor management. And the poor management often occurs because the funding wasn't calculated correctly. Yep. People overestimated revenue. They underestimated time and they underestimated cost. Yep. It happens every bloody day. And that's, including me. That's happened to me, but it's not going to happen again.
I think you've hit on two of the three things that I've seen. The third one being people who are determined to develop a solution to a problem that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's good.
Or sorry, they develop a solution to a problem that isn't enough of a problem for people to buy the product, the solution you're offering. So, yeah.
It's spot on. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely right. And I've been guilty over the years of dreaming up silly ideas like that too, but not anymore. This is very much something quite traditional, collecting, but we're trying to shake that up a little bit and make it something that is not quite so snooty, and that you can buy something really cool without having to be extremely rich. But on the other hand, if you are rich, we've got something for you too.
So it makes it accessible. That's a really good thing.
See. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm telling you all this now because no one else is interested, but they might be in the recording. But my young business partner, she's worried about intellectual property being stolen. I said, I'm not too worried because what we're doing wouldn't be that easy to replicate right now.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing where you've got an idea like that, where you've got something that's unique, you've got a period of time where you can maintain that uniqueness because you've got the idea and you're actually executing on it.
Yes,
I'm sure someone else will come up with the idea, but it'll take them a while.
I want them to. Of course, I want them to. I always talk about restaurant areas. You go to a place that's famous for a restaurant. You don't want to be unable to get into the one restaurants there. You want to be able to have a choice. And I've seen in Sydney, my hometown. The most classic example of it is the suburb I I lived in as a young man, and still have a house in called Balmain. So it's a very smart old suburb of Sydney, but it's a peninsula quite close to the city. But it was waterfront industrial, sort of sea industrial in the 19th century, and then it became very dirty industrial and criminal in the early to the mid 20th century. And since me and my mates moved in, no, since younger people from the arts world moved in 60s and 70s, it's now extremely valuable, expensive. But when I moved in 1970, it had no restaurants. I had one restaurant,
Okay.
which was a Viennese workers' cafe, like a lady from Austria who made fabulous schnitzels, and her clients were workers working at the various shipyards and other factories that dotted the peninsula. Well, they're all gone now. She's gone. But there are hundreds of restaurants, including some of Sydney's best. There's one street, the main drag. It's kind of a spine of a ridge, as most of Sydney is. We grew up that way, and with sort of dropping down to the water on every side. And that street, Darling Street, is dotted with very fine restaurants, some of which fail and then get replaced. But you know that you can go to Darling Street and get a good feed. So we're hoping that the same thing will happen here with the collectibles in due course, that if you want to be a collector, there should be more ways of doing it than at the moment.
I think it's known as the clustering effect as well with businesses, that you get one and then you get another one. The town I live in has got several Michelin-starred restaurants, and it's quite unusual in that respect, because then they tend to be, there's one of them somewhere.
Yeah. Which town is that, Gary?
A place called Marlow in Buckinghamshire.
Okay, I'll look that up. I love that sort of thing. I'll be there.
But in fairness, I think most of them are owned by the same Michelin-starred guy. So what he's done is quite interestingly, he's developed a series of places which are adjacent to his other ideas, but he's got some that are a bit more upmarket, some which are a bit more real world and this kind of thing as well. But yeah, the whole concept around clustering is that you don't go and build a restaurant, or you don't go away from other restaurants. You actually put it fairly close to another one, because then you'll spin off and you'll benefit both. So I hope, as you're saying with the stuff you're doing, you actually want some competition because it grows the market. Yeah.
Well, we hope to be present at Art Basel next year as part of this digital thing. But the normal collectors, like our mate who runs the Asprey Studio, had some very, very good connections, and one of them, named Leonardo DiCaprio, turned up yesterday to have a look. He's a mate, and and he's there. He's a buyer. He's a collector. He didn't. They'd sold everything. They didn't have anything for him to buy, but he was there, and I think he went and the people were very keen to see him too, I'm sure, and whatever. And he wandered around wearing a mask and trying to be relatively incognito, not succeeding, of course, because it's not a face that people forget. So, but there are very serious collectors turning up in this space now as well, because they can smell that something's happening, which is not the NFT bubble from 3 years ago. That's the bottom line. There are some really good artists who are having a crack at it, and every time I meet one of them, I encourage them to keep their feet in the physical world as well. Don't just if you've got the capacity. There's a young French sculptor who works in marble, and he's brilliant, but he's been a very early adopter of the whole ordinal sphere, and he's very successful in that world. But he's getting more money from his physical works, because people are saying, he's getting commissions, and institutions are interested in his work. And of course, a lot of the institutions now are very interested in a physical work that's got this a bit of digital smell around it as well, because they all want to be seen to be doing something. So I think we'll probably end up with a few institutional clients as well.
That's
but
good.
no rush. Anyway, thank you for your our little private discussion today. I value your input. I'm not blowing smoke up your bum, but I will send you, as soon as our website's done, I'll send it to you privately, and you can have a look at what we're doing. And I'd appreciate any serious comments on improvements that we could make, because you're a smart bloke, and you're also You've had a lot of experience. No, I know.
Yeah.
I've heard the way you talk. You speak my language.
Excellent, cool. No, Nathan, you okay with me posting most of this on YouTube
Of
as
course.
usual? Yep.
Yeah. And I'm not hiding anything.
Cool.
And it's a process of education. I'm much better one-on-one than I am. Well, I can talk to a room, but it's very hard when you're trying to do all this through bloody Twitter or something. I've given
Yeah.
up on that. It's long form journalism that I'm interested in here.
Yeah. It's kind of like you need to do it through a fireside chat type thing of a.
Yeah, we're going to do that on the website.
Okay.
Matilda and I, the co-founders, we're going to, she's young, good looking, and I'm old and crusty, but we'll have other people along, and we'll talk about everything we're doing in great detail, but in 3-minute bites. So,
Cool.
that's the attention span of a pop song, and I think that's still around for some people.
Excellent. That's really good. Well, look, let's close it off there then. But that's really interesting, and it's great as always to hear you're really pushing the boundaries of the innovation of some stuff. And I like the way you're bringing together some of the old and some of the new as well, which is exactly what we need.
And there's nothing riding on it, Gary. If it doesn't work, I'll have had a lot of fun doing it. And the beauty, here's the final kicker, is that every one of the objet that I deal with, apart from the tree, you might argue, even that has significant intrinsic value, and I'm pretty good at buying things for the right price. So there's nothing in there that's got a bad smell to it. Everything's got proper provenance to start with, and I've got some experience in collecting anyway. So I think it's a bit eclectic, but the inherent value is there. And if nothing works in this space, well, I can always go to Christie's.
So no loss. Okay, well, look, Nathan, have a great day in Miami. Nice speaking to you.
Okay, see you soon.
Speak to you again. Bye for now then.